is a 16-year-old bar-2 timber deck in the Kimberley in Western Australia. This section was done 2 weeks ago. It's hard to tell with all the gear all over it. So I've just washed the deck with the Cabot's deck wash to prep it. Scrubbed it with 2 scrubbing brushes over there. Rinsed it with a hose after letting it sit for 15-20 minutes and trying to keep it wet. And now I'm squeegeeing the excess water off to let it dry. It's currently about 34-35 degrees. Might feel like more because of the humidity. Had an extreme heat warning issued a couple of hours ago. So the biggest issue when you've got a deck this size is keeping it wet, not letting it dry out with the deck wash product on it. There's a few ways you can do that. I just use the garden hose and keep it damp while I'm trying to scrub the old oil and marks off it. Okay, the big reveal. The deck has been rinsed, squeegeed, and is now dry. So you can see some of the issues from wear and tear. Some naughty person has pots there. That's water leaking from the pot plants. So this deck wears unevenly because this is in the sun every day, this section, all year round. And the rest of the deck, as you can see, is always in the shade. So I had a bit of a look, and I'll get hubby to run his Festool over some of these spots. Sand, just a light sand before I put the decking oil on. Patches like that again, some naughty person with pot plants again. So I'll let this dry overnight so it's nice and dry. Then it will get a sand, and then I'll start oiling the deck. So I'm no decking oil expert, but this is the 9th time I've oiled this decking area in the last 16 years. So I've learned a thing or two. The main thing is if there's a existing product on the deck, you want to keep using that. So I started with Cabot's, not because they're the best in the world or I don't know, but so I just keep using Cabot's. You can buy it at Bunnings here in our local shop. But there's plenty of other great products. Some people use Stickens, which everyone raves about here. Aquadeck, another Cabot's product, but that's a varnish, whereas I use a natural decking oil in Merbau colour. So when I apply this tomorrow, hopefully, I'll start at this end because this is the sun damaged end always. So my oil will be heavier on the wool applicator, and I probably won't squidge it off as much. I'll let it put a heavy coating here, and I'll just slide it all the way down along the entire timber row. I think the lambswool head usually takes up 2.5 timber rows. So it sort of gets lighter as you go towards the end, which works well because obviously the end is in the shade all the time, so it doesn't need as much oil, and it takes a long time to dry in these parts where, you know, the deck's not super dry. So that's how I'll approach oiling this deck in the next couple of days. And just from experience, this end here that's always in the sun will need a lot more oil than the rest of the decking. So I'll probably apply over the next week maybe 6-7 heavy applications to this, and I'll just do it one bit at a time, one application at a time, just to see how it sinks in. And after, you'll know when it's enough, because it will keep a sheen, whereas if it's not, it'll just look bone dry again. So you've just got to, it does take a while, you've got to just play it by ear, I suppose. I mean, you can see here where we had some steel frames up from a reno project that still hasn't been finished. And we must have oiled the deck when the frames are up, so you can see the line very clearly where the oil was and where it didn't get oiled last time. I just thought I'd show you where the other section of decking was done in the last 2 weeks compared to the current section that hasn't been done yet. It's just been washed. So you can see there's a finish on the top side. The bottom side, where my feet are, has got no sheen on it yet. It's quite obvious here. So you can see here the left side, you can see where I finished my brush strokes. Because of course, when all your living areas come out off your decking area, you need to plan how to varnish or how to oil the deck so you can still get access to your living areas and bedrooms. Okay, it's 3 days later. We're back at the decking. I'm just having a look at it because it's been fully lightly sanded with a Festool. So we weren't going to do that, but given it's been 16 years and this has never had a sand, we decided to give it a really light sand. That's that patch from before. I showed you where the pot had been and it's rotted some of the wood. Here's the end of the deck that's sun damaged. Getting ready. So most of the deck sanded really easily, except this patch in here. So this patch in here sits under a couch and fake lawn. And basically the oil was still quite a lot of oil on there, even though it hasn't been oiled for about 6 years. So the sander picked it up, so we stopped sanding here. Because it was sticking to the sandpaper. And then of course the sandpaper wasn't reaching the timber, so we just gave it up. So hopefully once I put the first coat on today, it'll start looking a lot more even and consistent on this timber. So it's 3 days later, so there's a bit of prep involved, which you don't see. I never seem to see that on the videos I watch, but while we're at it, we clean our walls, our Colorbond walls, which always come up nice. Get rid of all the pindan dust on them. So we wipe them down, dry them off. We did a bit of maintenance on some of our features that we have on the walls. And of course we cleaned up all the furniture that sits on here. It's over on the other side waiting to move back. Okay, so the plan is I'm going to start over there at that end and run my way down here with a lamb's wool applicator, and have a heavy application at this end where the sun's damaged the timber, and it will lighten off as we run down towards the shade areas. I'll keep going until I've got about 6 lengths of timber left, and I'll leave them for a few days so that we can get access from our main living area to our bathrooms and bedrooms. So we'll get on with it. Okay, first coat of section 1 is on. It's currently 11 a.m. Feels like 35 degrees, 55% humidity. So according to the instructions on the Cabot's tin, it will take longer to dry. So they say 6 hours for the first coat, but that I've never experienced that. I usually wait at least 24, do a second coat, but I won't be second coating this entire deck. I'll only do the ends where the sun's damage occurred. You can see it's already starting to absorb that oil. So now we wait and we try not to accidentally step on it. It's terps cleanup, terps and water with this product. Oh, I forgot to leave a walkway there for a minute. I got carried away. Anyway, we can step over that. Oh, cross fingers. It all looks good. Oh, 24 hours later. It's a bit tacky in this area here, which is always the slowest to dry. But it's touch dry through the rest of the deck, and as you can see at the end, it needs another application, probably a couple. So I'm about to just reapply at this end, and we won't be applying again at the other end. One coat's been more than enough for that end, as predicted. Quite overcast today and humid, so hence all the fans on. It's definitely not taking 6 hours to dry. So I think we need another 3 or 4 days with this deck to get it to a point where it's dry enough to walk on it and start the next section. Spent about 10 minutes reapplying at the sun damaged end. Put another heavy coat on. So that was 10 minutes. The first application, coat 1, took about 40 minutes on this side of the deck. So far that's almost an hour. Then of course you prep, clean up with the terps and water. It's another 10 minutes. Okay, it's 12 hours later after the application of the second coat at the sun damaged end of the deck. It's looking pretty good. So I'm just going to touch up some of the dry areas that are left today. But yeah, this has come up quite good. Putting that heavy coating on really made a difference. And I'll just put a very, very light coat over into the decking through the bathroom. Hi everyone, it's 2 weeks later. The deck is now finished. It's been dry, it's dry. It's had multiple coats at the sun damaged end. And it is ready to put everything back on, all the furniture, etc. You can see here, sun damaged end. It's come up pretty good. Could probably put one more coat over here, but pretty keen to get the furniture back on and the deck back in use. So this took 4 litres of natural cabbage oil in Merbau, and overall it took about 2 weeks. Between multiple coats, having to do it in 2 sections for access. Everyday life. One of the minuses, I suppose, of oil is the dust sticking to it. So before I turned on the video, I blew down the deck, dusted it with a microfiber mop, and then changed the mop head to a microfiber wet mop just to get the dust off for the video, but it'll end up straight back on, just like the first deck, the first side I did here. You can see it's quite dusty in comparison. So what I'll do is, maintaining it, I'll just go over it once or twice a week with this mop that's damp, just to get the dust off after I've blown it down with a blower. So I'll put up a photo of the finished deck with all the furniture back on it, but for now, over and out.